Assalamu alaikum. Okay, we're carrying on. Yesterday we did savings account. Today we're going to do fixed deposit and then we're going to work through an example, right? So now we're doing a fixed deposit account. So it's saying here, what are the advantages? These are accounts into which you deposit a certain amount, either as a lump sum or every month for a specific period of time at a specified interest rate. So what happens is you deposit a certain lump sum of money, and then they have an interest rate that they work it out on, and then you earn interest on your investment for that certain amount of time that you have put it in, right? So what's the disadvantage is you cannot withdraw your money until the end of the stipulated time period, which can vary from 1 month to a few years. So when you go to these banks or institutions that allow you to put in a fixed deposit, they have 30 days, 90 days, 1 year, 2 years, those kind of options. Then you choose your option, you put that certain amount of money for in the fixed deposit. Example, if I have 10,000 rand, so I'll take 10,000 rand and I will fix it for 90 days, which would mean for 3 months. And then let's say, for example, I'm earning 5% interest, right? So what will happen is you're going to fix this money here for 3 months, and then you're going to earn 5% interest. So if this has 5% interest per annum, then every month you'll be earning interest on that money. But in that 3 months there, right? So within that 3 months there, you're not allowed to take out that money. So it's not like a savings account or check account where you can withdraw money or anything. You can't touch that money. For that period, it's going to be fixed. It stays in that fixed deposit for the 3 months, and you're only allowed to remove it at the end of the 3 months, or if you don't need the money again, they allow you to fix it again for another period of time, right? So this does change. That does change also the amount of months that you can deposit it in for. You can choose it. Sometimes it's 30 days, 90 days, 1 year, 2 years, whatever. So that's up to you. But obviously, a fixed deposit means you have some surplus cash that you're not using, and you want to save it into an account, and you want to earn some money on it, and you want to keep it aside as a nest egg, right? So this type of account offers a higher rate of interest, right? And the disadvantage is it offers less liquidity. So what that means is, because as compared to having a savings account or a check account and money sitting in there, because this is for a longer period, they offer higher rates of interest. So it's an advantage. And offers less liquidity means, like this example where it's stuck for 3 months, you can't touch that fixed deposit. So it's less liquid. It means you can't convert it to cash quickly, right? So again, from an Islamic perspective, this is again not the right option for us, because you're purely earning interest. You're basing your money on putting it into a fixed deposit and earning interest. There are Sharia alternatives where you can fix your money and they use the money to earn money, and then they give you part of the profits as a share. So that becomes halal, right? Now I'm going to move back to this example here, right? So this is not your own textbook, so I'll just put a picture up for today. So we're going to work through this example. You're supposed to have worked through it already. I hope so, inshallah. Okay, so this is using a graph to understand and represent interest growth patterns. So why I chose it for today's lesson is because it represents a fixed deposit. Okay, so what is happening here is that Jenna is considering investing an amount of 6,000 Rand and has the following investment options. Option 1 is saying a simple interest option of 12% shown by the straight line graph. Okay, so the red one, you can see A, that's a straight line graph, and that's going to show your simple interest. Option 2, a compound interest option of 9% per annum shown by a curved compound graph. So she has 2 options to choose from, and she needs to look at the 2 investment options and decide whether she wants to choose a simple interest option or a compounded interest option. So when we're reading a graph, right, and when you're drawing a graph as well, look at here. At the top, they have named the graph Jenna's investment options. Very important, because if you're looking at the graph for the first time, somebody needs to understand your graph. Why are you even drawing this graph, right? So Jenna's investment options. So it's telling us now to look for her options. So the time value is at the bottom. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? We've got right up to 12 years. So this is obviously working like a fixed deposit where you can deposit the money from anything from 1 year up to 12 years and see how much you're going to earn interest on there, right? But then you remember we're coming back to the lesson of simple and compound interest. So you can choose between the two options. The y-axis has the investment value, right? So if she invests 1,000 rand or 2,000, 3,000, it's in rand value. So she's chosen an amount of 6,000 rand, right? So there's the amount of 6,000 rand. Notice the zero. Where do we start from? Why are we starting from the zero on the as our first point on our graph? Is because the first month that you're going to put the money in, when you start off in the first month, you're going to put in 6,000 rand. So in both options, your graph is going to start at the same place. You're starting off at 6,000 rand, right? So let's read the graph, right? If Jenna intends to use her investment money in 4 years' time, which option should she choose, and justify your answer with data from the graphs. So we need to understand what the question is telling us to do, right? So your question is asking you to use the graph and to look at 4 years' time, right? So in 4 years' time, we need to go to the 4th year and we need to follow the two graphs. If we look at this pink or red graph, you can see that one there is following the simple interest one, and this one is the compound interest, right? So it's asking you to compare the two, and which one would you choose when you are in year 4? Okay, at this point you would choose the simple interest. It's earning more money, right? So if we read the answer, at this point the simple interest option is better as it yields 500 rand more in interest, right? So if you're looking at year 4, we're going to look at how much of income she's going to be getting at year 4. You will read the graph and check there, and then you read the graph for the other one, and you compare the two values, and that's how you're going to come to your conclusion that why the simple interest one is better, right? So number 2 says, if Jenna wants a long-term investment of more than 10 years, which option should she choose, and justify your answer with data from the graph. Okay, so we go to the graph. We're looking at our keyword here is the 10. We're going to 10 years, so more than 10 years. So we're comparing these two blocks together. Which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose the compound interest. Can you see where the compound interest one is? It's higher than the simple interest one. At this point, the compound interest option is better. It yields plus minus 1,000 rand more interest, right? So they're just working out the value of the investments. So if you're going there, say to year 11, and you work it out, how much does this one give me, how much does that one give me, and you can see there's a big difference in the interest that's being received, right? Now the next question says, after how many years would the two options yield or provide the same amount of money, right? So the same amount of money, you're looking for a point where the graphs are meeting. Where does the graph meet? The investment option yield equals return after 7.5 years. So I go to my graph, I'm looking for a dot there where it's the middle. Okay, then you use your ruler and you just follow it down, right? You follow it down there, and you can see it's 7.5 years, that it's the same. Okay, so it's equal returns after 7.5 years. Okay, now the next question says, what would Jenna's investment be worth after 2 years in option 1? So we're going in option 1, which is a simple interest, right? So we know we need to follow the red graph, and after 2 years, so we want to follow the red graph and see after 2 years what's happening. There's it there, and I need to follow that point there, and I need to read it off the graph there, and I'm coming up with about halfway between the two there, so it's about 7,500 rand, right? What would Jenna's investment be worth after 9 years on option 2? So we're looking at option 2, which is the purple graph. Now we want to know after 9 years what is going to happen. So here's 9 years. Okay, so there's my purple graph on my 9th year. So I need to follow it from there to there. How much am I going to be worth? 13,000 rand. So there's your answer, 13,000 rand. So these questions are quite simple because all the answers are on the graph. right? They've written a Y formula for the both of them. Please don't get worried about that. You don't need to do it. But what you need to know how to do is how to read the graph and how to answer questions like this. So this is representing what we're doing today, right? So what we did today is this fixed deposit. So you need to remember that you have options of simple and interest compound, of simple interest and compound interest, and a fixed deposit. Why is it different? Is because we're putting it in for a longer period of time and we're earning higher interest rates. And the time period, if you put it in for 3 months, you're not allowed to remove that money, so it offers less liquidity, which means I can't go to the bank and say, give me my 10,000 Rand back before the 3 months. You have to wait for the 3 months to be over, and then only they give you an option. Do you want to withdraw your money or do you want to reinvest your money? So at that time you can assess your own liquidity and then decide how to move forward, right? Jazakallah.